It's fascinating. The Cars, when Cars first came out, I'm so proud of that film, and I loved making it, and I loved the world and the characters. And there were some countries that the movie did just okay. Even in the markets like France that the movie did just okay when it came out, it has gotten more and more and more popular every year since it came out. And there has never been a movie in cinema history that's happened to. And that makes me feel really, really great, and that's part of the reason why I'm so excited about Cars 2, because whereas Cars 1 was very kind of focused on Route 66 and America and kind of, that story, Cars 2, we travel the world. And because part of the inspiration for Cars 2 came from when I was doing publicity for Cars, the first movie. And as I traveled around the world, I kept thinking about what would Mater and Lightning McQueen do in these situations, and also seeing all of the really interesting cars that are found in the different countries. Because it just so happens the big markets for our movies happen to also be the big auto-producing nations around the world. And like, for instance, in France, as I travel around France, I just love seeing the older French cars, because the design of them is so beautiful and so unique. Like the older Citroëns and the Renaults and the Peugeots, they're just... The older ones are so uniquely French in design that you can't mistake them for a German car, an Italian car, an American car, a British car, a Japanese car. They're so unique. I feel sad because kind of the globalization of the auto world, everything, there's been, the cars kind of seem the same. There's unique cars here and there, but by and large they kind of look the same all the time. But I love the older cars, and I kept thinking, wouldn't it be awesome to take that old Citroën and make it a character, and then have Mater interact with it, or Lightning McQueen or something. And that's what became sort of something that I was very inspired to do. And so the growing popularity of cars all around the world sort of made the possibility to do another movie. They were very interested in that. And so the only reason at Pixar that why we do sequels is that we have come up with a story that is as good as the original, but different, right? And that's really important for us. We want to tell a different story and not just rehash the same story over again. And so we got really excited about the idea of doing a spy movie for the sequel. And that's so different than the original story. Yeah. And the spy movie idea came from, actually, it was an idea that was developed while we were making Cars. There was a scene where Lightning McQueen was taking Sally on a date. And originally we had them going to the drive-in movie theater, and we wanted to have a movie playing up on the screen, and we came up with this idea of this spy named Finn McMissile, and it was kind of a spy movie with him in it. And that scene changed from the drive-in movie theater to cruising on the main road, which is in the movie. And so we didn't do anything with that movie within a movie, but I never forgot it. I thought, this could be really cool. Because, when you think about the history of spy movies, there inevitably are really cool cars in them. And I thought, okay, this could be really fun. And so when traveling around the world in the spy movies, they kind of go hand in hand, because typically spy movies have these exotic locations. And then I love all the different types of racing around the world, and we wanted to get some and there's such cool cars in those other types of racing than American NASCAR racing. And so I thought, let's get Lightning McQueen to race against these other types of cars. And so that kind of became the origin of Cars 2. And part of what's fun about taking the car characters around the world is there are no humans in this world, just cars. So then we get to go into these, famous places and rethink what they look like, because it's a world of cars. And I tell you, my love of Paris shows in this movie, because there are so many cool landmarks of Paris, but they're reconceived in the car world, and it's really fun to see. I'm American made, but a large Chevrolet. 25 years ago, when Pixar was first starting out, we were not even an animation studio. We were a company that made computer graphics hardware and software. And at the beginning, there were only 4 of us actually making animation, and I was the only traditionally trained animator. I was the only traditionally trained animator working with computer graphics really in the world. And so it was just hard to believe. I always thought that, when they lay off people, we're going to be the first to go, because we don't actually do anything towards the computers or the software. But what's interesting is over time, as we started working towards, our goal was to do an animated feature one day, and we just worked towards that. And we were formed in February of 1986, and in 1991 we got the deal with Disney to start developing our first feature film. And by the time Toy Story came out in 1995, the whole company had shifted over to be an animation studio. And from that point on, it's almost like Pixar had 2 histories, one kind of before Toy Story and one after Toy Story. And so it's, kind of looking ahead, when 25 years ago, when Pixar was first started, it was hard to conceive of us. I thought we'd be a computer company. It's hard to perceive of us as being an actual 100% animation studio. But once Toy Story happened, then we were so focused on building the studio. I really wanted it to be a place, like a great filmmaking environment for directors like myself to make great movies, right? Our directors here are not auteurs. They're not, this is a very collaborative studio, but it's a filmmaker-led studio, meaning that each of the ideas for our films comes from the filmmaker, comes from their heart, comes from their soul, comes from, working with writers and other people. But the basic idea typically comes from them. And that's what I want, because I want someone so passionate about the movie that they kind of live the movie. It is them, and so much a part of our stories comes from our personal lives and experiences. And so that's where, for me, Cars 2 is so much a part of my personal experience. Now you ask us, say, where do we, 25 years from now? And I hope...
would you like it to be?
I would like it to be doing pretty much what we're doing now. But we have a lot of great young filmmakers working here, making amazing films, and the evolution of Pixar, where we have more artists and more people, but all with the same ideals. It's something very important for us that Ed Catmull and I think about a lot and talk about a lot between he and I, and that is that when you look back at the history of cinema, or frankly the history of the arts, very seldom, if ever, do you find that a place continues its success after the founders and the original people are gone. right? Think of it's like a band. It's like the Beatles. Think about the Beatles. When those four guys were together, there was magic. It's hard to explain, but it was just like something that the four of them working together, it's just that music is timeless. Then they split up, and there was moments of greatness with John Lennon, moments of greatness with Paul McCartney, moments of greatness with George Harrison, so on. And but it wasn't quite the same, right? And the same goes for film studios, And Ed and I are aware of that. And we say, Pixar, all of the original people are still here, right? We're still young, we're still working hard, we're still doing our stuff. And we're dedicated to making Pixar, be as creatively vibrant and successful after the founders have retired, and moved on. I think that it's really, really important to kind of keep that in mind and bring young people and infuse them with the spirit of why Pixar is the way it is, and it's collaborative, it's talking, it's really important.